Why is law enforcement training so expensive? I don't know. What we have done, there's been approximately 10 companies with approximately 16 to 18 instructors that have came together that are willing to put on a 3.5 day conference in South Carolina. April 20th is registration. The conference is the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. In 2026, we'll be in Myrtle Beach. It'll be $99 for the entire conference, thanks to some amazing sponsors and even better instructors that are willing to donate and volunteer their time to make the profession better. That being said, Justice X Conference, April 20th to 24th, 2026. I want to see you there. You're going to love it. We have amazing names. I'm going to drop some bombshells on here. If you listen to the podcast, you get a little heads up. We're going to have John Mattingly. We're going to have Tom Rizzo. We're going to have Heather Globlich. We're going to have Nick German. We're going to have Tom Stack. We're going to have many, many other instructors. But those are some of the amazing people that have came together, willing to give you some of the cheapest education to make the profession better because they're selfless and they volunteer their time. So I can't wait to see you there.
And it was really hard to start how are we going to communicate? Well, it's all fine. Do you have Special Operations 1? Well, you do, but you don't because you guys are in different units in the same agency and you flashed your radio to ours and sort of, oh shit, okay. Wait, I've got an extra one. Can you take this? But now we have to have accountability for that's to me, that's inefficiency. And there needs to be a better way of doing it. So 5-10 years from now, this is what I told them. You guys have literally like changed how first responders will be communicating.
So you got to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? What keeps you motivated to stay proactive and get bad guys off the street?
The facts is a big cannon against a little tiny gun of opinions, because we've all heard people give us their opinions.
Let's talk about how easy it is to get narcotics in this country. Once they're in this country, anywhere within 2 days, the drugs will be in our cities.
Because we know knowledge is power.
All right, man. Well, let's get going. That's I don't want you to miss your flight. So.
Oh yeah, that.
Well, today we're here with Chance Cooper, and you are the COO of Apollo. And I mean, the main reason that you're here is because you used to be a cop. And what we like to talk about is everything prior to you being a cop, like childhood. What led you down? What was motivating you to be a cop? All of this good stuff. So you can start talking, and then maybe Mike or I will interrupt you, but more than likely we'll just stare at you for a while.
Heck yeah. Well, so before what got me into it, I guess. Sure.
Let's talk about where you grew up.
Was born in Arizona, then moved to a little town in Missouri called Clinton. Clinton was, to put in perspective, growing up in Clinton, there was nothing. Like we had like a little movie theater. We didn't have a Walmart. We didn't have anything. And I grew up in the countryside of it. So my friends we bathed in sulfur water because that's just how the running water worked.
Right.
I didn't have to because we had a strip pit, which is like old coal mining pit that filled with water. That was in our backyard. So we drew water from that. So likely we didn't. But grew up really, just like most kids, just like poor in the 90s, grew up with great parents. We moved up to the Kansas City Metro, and my dad got a better paying job. My mom became a school teacher, and yeah, what got me into law?
Siblings?
Yeah, I got 3 sisters. I got an older sister and 2 younger ones, no brothers. And my mom was a theater teacher, and I had theater sisters that all did theater. So naturally, in high school, I was doing sports and all this like guy stuff. But man, I'll tell you what, all my music collection was like Kill the Puppy music. Religious music, and then Rodgers and Hammerstein because it's just I grew up with it, and I loved it because the girl to guy ratio was amazing. It was like 50-1.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to bring up. I'm you got to get
100%. And the best part, since my mom, it gets better. And then the straight guy girl to ratio was like 120-1, right? And since my mom was the theater teacher, in high school, I don't remember much because I just picked her classes so that we could go run errands. And so I legally got to play hooky. But then also, I mean, it was fun. It was fun performing. I love performing. There's a thrill to, thrilling an audience that is just so much fun. And so, yeah, but that was high school. I knew growing up that I was like, I wanted to do something like cool. My dad flew A4 Skyhawks in the Navy. And so, but that was like before I was born. And then he was on the Maricopa County SWAT team and as a reserve deputy and stuff. And so I grew up with pictures of him in like all the gear, blowing doors and flight. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And hearing all the stories. But the dad I grew up with was like the business executive.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, okay, business executive, cool. I want to go do the other stuff. So I served a mission for our church for 2 years and came back. And I was like, man, I want to go be a commando. That's what I want to go do. I want to be.
Where's the mission?
I served a mission for our church in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
And got back and it's like, what am I going to go do? I met my wife and she's like, I don't want to be a military wife. And I was like, yeah, I kind of want to do it. She's like, I don't want to do it. And I was like, all right, well, I really like you. So I got to figure out something else. And I got recruited I was like, I'm going to go to college and just go find something. And while there in my first semester at college I took a criminal justice class and a U.S. Marshal came in and was talking. I'm like, that sounds fun. So talked to him after class and told me about a program, and I got recruited to go to Boise State for their criminal justice program. So graduated criminal justice there, did an internship with the locals, and realized during that internship, okay, we've all been there now. Picture like an intern college kid showing up being like, hey, I'm supposed to ride with you guys. I was like, what the heck? These guys didn't do that. Or if they did, they didn't let me know it. I was, as much as I wanted to, gave me basically a free pass to show up, and I got a ride for an entire semester. I got to go train with their team. I got to go with the investigators. I got to go ride with, and it literally gave me a free pass and just, hey, interns here. Cool, I'll take them.
How many years were you up in Boise?
4 and a half.
Oh, okay.
Which is, we could talk about an entire episode series. But anyway, but during that internship, as I was done with that, I went back to all my federal contacts and I'm like, when was the last time you put hands on somebody? When was the last time you like got in a car chase or got in a foot chase or something? Like, oh, we leave that to the locals. And I was like,
guess I don't want to do this.
really? All right, well, I'm gonna go do that. And so, but this was back in 2012-ish when you had 2 openings and 500 applicants.
Mhm.
Right? And so there was nothing around there. And so I'm like, okay, well, my wife's from Albuquerque. I definitely don't want to go there. So I was like, hey, we'll go back to Kansas City and try. So showed up to Kansas City, got out a summer job, and I was like, I want to go be a cop. So I started applying to every agency I could. And very much was, there's 3 openings and I'm going with tests. I mean, we're an auditorium full of everybody in their shirts. Now I feel like that's something that just doesn't happen anymore.
No, not at all.
Not at all, right?
Mhm.
But I remember just being like, oh my gosh, like, oh, that guy looks like he's legit. And this was also when veteran preference points were really big. And so guys coming back from serving, they got preference points, and nothing against them, grateful for your service, but like, man, it put them at an advantage. So I was going up against, so I got hired on with the town I grew up in, I got hired on with them.
Small town then?
Sure.
Population-wise?
50,000, but it's a part of the Kansas City Metro.
Okay, okay.
So it's a small agency. They thought they were big, but they were not. I mean, they didn't have the crime that they thought they did, if that makes sense. But at the same time, it was my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And the irony is when I went in for my psych eval, he's looking at me and he goes, are you sure you want to get on with them? And I was like, I'm about to like, but we get out. He's like, okay, your profile says you probably aren't going to be very happy. I was like, okay, well, they're hiring me. And he's like, okay, well, I recommend going with these 3 agencies. That's kind of what your profile is. And I'm like, okay. Like Kansas City is one of like bigger high.
Right, he knew what you were looking for.
Right, and I was
could
like,
see it. And
right. But it always stuck out to me because I remember being an FTO, like getting out of the academy, being an FTO, and a car chase comes through our city, and I'm like, hey, let's go. And then my FTO was just like, man, we ain't getting involved in that. And I was like, but this would it. And he's like, if you want to do stuff like that, you go to the other agency. And one of those agencies was one that the the psychiatrist told me. And I just remember being like, noted that this may not be a good fit for me. And it became that way. So I was there for 2.5, 3 years, and lateral to the sheriff's office where.
But that got you in then. That's a big thing that.
It got me in, but it actually came to. It came to bite me in the butt a lot during the after stuff because just like everybody, I mean, I'll tell you this, now that I've been traveling, like I realize how I've taken a lot of comfort in like my story. Like what I say is like my story, my legacy, that not that I teach to anybody, but like to like my kids. It's very common. And I take a lot of comfort in that like, okay, it wasn't just me that experienced a lot of this. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And because it's a lot of identity, like I still to this day feel like I was not done. I wanted to be a career. I am the true believer in law enforcement. It's the greatest career, and I miss it every single day. And was sad that how it played out, but I don't regret it because I don't live my life in regrets.
How many years total did you do?
10,
So-
and then the last 2 years was kind of like I'd get on with a small agency, they like keep a badge and stuff like that, but then it just wasn't a good fit. Or I'm like, hey, this just like there's stuff that comes with a small agency
Yeah.
like that, like a lot more politics is involved. And I'm like, hey, this is just not, I'm not looking to add drama to my life.
That makes sense.
So, and it just came to the point, I was like, okay, I need to convert, I need to commit completely to, and then this company came over and I was like, I have to commit fully to it. But,
And we hear that a lot with when we interview people that have left law enforcement for various reasons. They all, I shouldn't say they all, but a lot of them say that, like, I was committed, I wanted this to be a career, but this happened, but I'm so passionate about it. And that's, I think, what brings them to talk to us. I talk to other podcasters, and then to do other, jobs that are around law enforcement. So just to still be a part of it.
yeah, it became real apparent of like, okay, I still can serve and like be a part of the community just on the private side. And that's what I've taken a lot of, I guess, my gusto or like my mojo as far as business goes. And I've never taken business. I've never been involved in business. I thought I was going to be doing this I always had my master's plan. I was going to get all of this stuff in some sort of administration. And, like, hey, I had the long game of, I want to be a part of like the change. I got directly affected by a lot of the bullshit. And I'm not that guy that delves in the toxicity. I'm the one that's like, hey, let's do something about it for good. And it just never came to fruition. So I'm like, okay, now what do I go do? I still want to have that. And that's where this company was. I'm like, when they came and showed me what Apollo is, I was like, and I told him, I said, whether I jump on or I come on with your company or not, you need to know what you have created is something that everybody has been trying to do for a long time. And if this works, you are going to potentially be revolutionizing how first responders communicate and manage critical events, calls for service, everything. And the best way to put it is like what CAD was 20 years ago to mobile dispatch and stuff in patrol cars. That's essentially what we're doing, is bringing a way of not just critical incidences and active shooters and counter-terrorist events, but just normal calls for service where accountability, where as you're responding in and you're taking fire to a domestic violence call and you want to know where are they at because they're not responding to their radio, you're able to know where the last known location was. Or if somebody's not popping up on the radio of like, hey, what's your status on the car stop? You're able to patch into the video and see exactly what's happening and essentially kind of triage if there's an emergency or disregard resources that are heading that way to go back to where they need to be. Because that was a big thing I hated is you're on a car stop. And it's like, hey man, what's your status? What's your status? We're not dropping emergency tones because it's like, hey, we should. Protocol says this, but experience says more than likely you're not. And I luckily never had to be there. I'm walking up where you were ambushed and now you're in the middle of the road. But that's a whole lot of time between my response to that happening.
Yeah.
And then the other side of that is, the whole butterfly effect. I'm coming and I shit. They're like, hey, dude, your radio is down. Oh, sorry, man. It's something so simple. Now I have to divert going back 15, 20 minutes to my area. What did I miss? What could I have been doing? What resources or stuff could have been like just because of radio? And that's essentially our ethos with Apollo is removing the inefficiency in communication through the radio.
And I think even with that, like if you're running lights and sirens because no one's speaking up, like what other damage? Could you hurt yourself? Could you hurt innocent people because you're trying to, and it's all because it happens all the time, but it's just an accident where an officer didn't turn up his radio when he was out of the car to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. So like, there's just so much of it. And I wish well, for us, it came even to the point, like when we talk about radios, you guys have the emergency button. Okay. If I'm training you, we go into dispatch and I have to see what your emergency button does and what the protocol is for managing that emergency button. Meaning mine, even though we are in the same agency, same radio, they're programmed differently. Mine might shut my radio off completely. Might open mine completely so I can only talk. But the only way that anybody else can talk is if I turn my radio all the way off and then all the way back on. If I'm shot, and I push my emergency and then I'm shot or whatever, I have now completely bottlenecked everybody's means of communication. Yours might be when you push it, it drops the tones, but it doesn't open your mic, and the only way that you can reset it is by long pressing the button a certain amount of time. Like, those are the problems. So it actually got to the point where the SOP was, do not push you a major emergency radio. There are other things we can do to help if there's an emergency, because the inconsistency needs to be there, because the agency wouldn't.
Have like a universal.
Yeah. That's
They
crazy.
bring them all in and let's
Oh,
put them all the same.
If they wanted to do that, no, that's too time consuming. All right. They have to bring in all the radios. That's 130 radios for that agency that they have to come in. And then, that's too, no, we don't have time for, or yes, absolutely. Will you write a memo up and send that to your chain of command, and we'll get to it. And you're like, you mean the same memo chain that I've written 4 other emails?
Yeah, exactly.
4 other memos, and it hasn't gone to anything. And you're like, okay, right on that. Yes, sir. That's the stuff I'm telling you. Like, I was really motivated to be part of change, to be in some sort of like part of the agency of like, I want to be that. And it just wasn't it. So now I'm in a place where I can actually be.
Can you tell us what Apollo actually does?
It's a common operating system, a common operating picture. So it came about by our CEO is former Israeli military, but he's an American citizen. So we used a program called ATAC, which is really common in the military. Essentially, just where are your people and how are you going to manage your big battle space? Because they all have 2 radios. You know, they've got a squad radio and then a company radio, whatever they call it. But they found that there's better means of communicating and managing resources than just radio. Radios are for emergency traffic only. So what Uvalde happened, and he was like, we'd have to find a better way. How do we get ATAC and first responders? And then realized ATAC was designed for the military, so it's very complicated, very, very, very complex just to get it up and running in the sense of what we use it for. You can download ATAC right now for free, but in order to have it be secure and manage in a way that it meets requirements for first responders, it's very complicated and expensive. So he came and said, okay, let's create our own way that simplifies those. So we took the key features of it and built our own system. So it's a common operating picture designed for first responders that provides geolocate, direction, vector, speed, you can track all of that. You can quantify missions, but in those missions, you can do geofences, do routes, multimedia messaging. You can integrate drones pretty easy. Like if you had a drone right now, I could throw it on that phone, and within 15 seconds, he and I could be watching that drone, whatever you're doing. So think of like you respond to like a canine search, and before you start that track, imagine having the drone go out first with thermal or night vision. So it's essentially another layer of protection. As you're doing that track, we're doing we're your security officers will now add somebody who can actually watch and see what's ahead of us. Or as we're doing that, they say, hey, we've got a heat signature. We all stop. They drop a marker saying this is where the heat signature is. We can figure out where it's at. Now we can strategically look how we're going to go investigate that, rather than just, okay, it's somewhere over to the northeast. We can actually bring technology into it so you can see the map and watch whatever video it is. It live streams our video. So like if you had it here or somewhere on their kit, you could actually, you can save it if you want to, but right now it's just live streaming. So that you can have real-time audio, video communication.
What about other first responders on there, like firemen, paramedics, that type of stuff?
Easy. So it was designed for first responders. So like my background, I want to say like what the government put a lot of money into my career or my resume was, essentially what we call like a rescue task force. A big critical event happens, like an active shooter or a terrorist attack. How do we respond and how do we manage it? And no joke, even I imagine nothing has changed. The SOP is, if you are a battalion chief and you are what we call SOD1, or you're like in charge of whatever this is, you two are married at the hip, put a carabiner, metaphorically put a carabiner, and you guys can't leave each other, because you have to talk to the firefighters and you have to talk to the police. With Apollo, if you guys are running Apollo, you guys show up, all he has to do is admit you guys to the mission, and now you see everything. So think of like a big event, like a sporting event or something like that. Anybody can have it because it uploads to any device, iPhone, Android, or anything like that. And it's web-based browser. So like a commander could be doing something, show up at a scene, and even though his computer's at home, he can log in and now has full access to whatever he needs to run that scene wherever he's at. And there's no space needed. So you and I could be here. Kenny could be, for like federal. Think of you if you were. I don't know, we do it internationally, so we've actually done it where like people in Israel or France, and we just it's part of our demonstration is like it doesn't matter, space doesn't matter. So you could stream my video anywhere.
So I could be like the boss sitting here, and you guys would be on a mission, and I could literally stream it or watch what you guys are doing. And it basically, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it picks up like movements and locations of everyone. So if I needed someone at a specific location, I could pinpoint that location. The next arriving officer or paramedic could go to that direct location without any type of communication on the radio.
So remember, part of the worst part of the things that we have to run with a critical event is show me en route, show me en route, show me en route, show me en route, and then show me on scene, show me on scene, show me on scene. Because what are we looking for? Crime scene log or some sort of like digital log, right? Now imagine all it is essentially as they're coming in, all of this is digitally tracked because it's on metadata. So if you're dropping, say you drop a geofence around like an area, and if I'm responding in and I see you've got 6 people on the north side and the west side, I'm going with the south side. And then I can now choose and pick, and you don't even have to tell me where to go because you're watching me go to a place, and you can even say, hey, I need you about 30 meters to the west. Okay, roger that. That's all our radio traffic is that. And this was showcased really big. We did a big testing and evaluation for a big customer a couple weeks ago, and they're running our system. And I have their radio that they're helping, the agency they're helping, and the radio is, hey, who's near 3rd and Elm? We have somebody that needs help. And then you hear, well, what'd you say? What'd you say? Wait, what? And essentially, through this, it would essentially be drop a marker, the information for the call, just like an incident, drop the meter for the call, and then you could assign it to you. And if you don't acknowledge it, then I can then say, hey, Mike, can you acknowledge the call for service? Oh, yeah. Cool. Yep. And then when you hit accept, it shows them and attaches you to it. And so now it's just a way of running a mobile dispatch. Because if you ever you've run big operations, you don't have, you've got dispatch, but when you're on it, who's running dispatch? So we kind of bring in the ability to have a hasty dispatch to anything that could be, because with our AO, a simple domestic violence call could become a massive critical event that'll be almost kind of legacy for a lot of cops, because, that shit will go sideways real, really fast and in a hurry. One of our shootings that we had started as a domestic violence call. And it's one that always sticks in my head because of all of the boxes that we checked that night. And we didn't have to deal with some of this stuff, but at the same time, like we had other agencies coming and helping. And it was really hard to start how are we going to communicate? Well, it's all fine. Do you have Special Operations 1? Well, you do, but you don't because you guys are in different units in the same agency and you flashed your radio to ours and sort of, oh shit, okay. Wait, I've got an extra one. Can you take this? But now we have to have accountability for that's, to me, that's inefficiency. And there needs to be a better way of doing it. So 5-10 years from now, this is what I told them. You guys have literally changed how first responders will be communicating because you're upgrading mobile CAD and I told them you're bringing a solution, but to a problem that is there and everybody's trying to solve, but nobody's been able to say, bring it all underneath one umbrella. And that umbrella is what we call a common operating picture. So it could be for anybody, for road patrol. It could be for EMT, it could be for, imagine EMT being able to communicate directly to the hospital.
Yeah.
Or while you're triaging somebody, the firefighters or the ambulance is patching into your video and being like, hey, you need to be doing this, or hey, adjust this, or you're getting an understanding of what's happening, and they can communicate to you of hey, can you ask them this question? Or hey, can you ask them this? Because they're still 6 minutes out. Stuff like that.
Law enforcement, first responders, military veterans, we see things and put our body through stuff that no one else in society has to deal with. We are good at coping with it mentally, but it still takes a toll on our body. Hormone replacement therapy is a great way to keep your body functioning as it should. And I'm not talking about walking around looking like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just the typical body that we need to function in society with mental health, mental clarity, performance in all aspects of life. I have several family members and friends that have turned to hormone replacement therapy in order to produce a better life for themselves and their family. We are thrilled to partner with HPTRT, veteran and first responder owned company that knows what we are looking for and what we need. They actually care about the first responders, they actually care about veterans. They know what we're going through, and they are willing to help us in any facet of life. not only with the hormone replacement therapies, but also medical doctors that have partnered with major pharmacies across the country and willing to do any type of telehealth that you need. If you're feeling sick and you want to lay on your couch and do a teleconference, they will send medications to major pharmacies that they have partnered with. So if you need any type of medical assistance, from hormone replacement therapy all the way up until you just feel like shit and need some telehealth, HPTRT is the place to go. Use code RED, R-E-D,
to get 10%.
Even with our current dispatching system, like they can patch us together as dispatchers, but what then turns like, oh, we're all on this incident together, but my agency is also having multiple calls for service that I can't hear, or I can't see, or anything like that. So theoretically, there's a way that, but it doesn't go both ways. Like I can be patched into another agency that's dealing with something, but then now with that, I can't hear anything else that's taking place at my own agency.
But it's still using the radio.
Right? Yeah. No. Yeah.
Radio channel, and the second that you start talking, what happens?
Yeah.
Everybody else cut out.
Yeah.
Everybody's beep, 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 beep. In fact, one of our shootings, that's what happened is we hear this, it was beep, 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 like trying to get through, and we couldn't. Okay, well, this is a really important piece of information. We need to put out.
Right.
We can't because you got, Lieutenant Farva or, Officer whatever kind of talking, and you're like, okay, this is
Just won't shut up.
dude, it's a problem. So. And here's the thing is, like, I knew this is, it's just a lot of the lessons that I learned. What I'm grateful for is that, I told you about how my career kind of ended. But I don't want to say it ended, it just continued. And what I've been grateful for is that I took the lessons that I learned, that in my 10 years, that was nothing. 10 years is nothing in law enforcement because you spend a couple of years doing, one thing and then you go to another. And, it's a very, very lengthy process of really understanding. And I found myself very grateful that after only 10 years, I had so much experience. And hang on.
What kind of jobs did you have? That's what I was saying. Like, what was your
I want to
qualifications?
say like I had I have all this experience. I'm saying I was able to learn from all of the experiences that I had to be able to say, okay, I can now translate this and take this into the professional or the private world to like make a difference. Like I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a real believer in in God, and I'm like, I see, there's been a lot of. I'll tell you, out of all I've said, the most important thing I'm going to tell you is I'm the biggest advocate for health, for mental health. Like one of the biggest things that changed me was I went and talked to somebody and realized I'm like, you don't need it. You don't understand me. Like, oh, what is this? Who's this rule? And within 5 minutes, I'm like, not only did you get me, I need to apologize because I came in here a certain way. And it was one of the best things I ever did because I think it saved me from making that final step, which was absolutely part of what I was considering. Because I'm like, how can I go from essentially going to putting my head to bed at night, tonight, putting my head and having everything. I was on my best career ever. I was on the board for all of this stuff. Like I was doing everything I wanted. I wake up the next day and it is all removed from me from bullshit. Stuff that I had no control over. And there's no means of anything. And I had no way of defending myself in any way, shape, or form. And now for the next little bit, I'm like, how is this even possible? And it was really hard for me to wrap my brain around it. How did I get here? And talking to somebody was like, okay. So it needs to be said. If all I'm saying, you want to ask like, what have I done? The most important thing I would say, my message is it's okay to go talk to somebody and highly encourage it. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means that you're hurt. And there's nothing wrong with that. You deal with other people being hurt. It's okay to say, hey, you're hurt. That doesn't make you anything less. It actually makes you human. And you go talk to somebody and you realize like, okay, you can work through stuff that when you can't find a rhyme or reason for it, maybe you don't have to have that rhyme or reason because you're dealing with other people who have choices, the ability to choose, and you can't affect them. But what you can do is affect what you're going to do from here forward. And that's what she helped me do.
And I think that's something that we should be doing all the time. Look at it no different than training. If you go talk to somebody, they give you the resources on how to deal with whatever, if it's personal, if it's just a critical incident, if any kind of stress and mental fatigue that we go through. we should treat it with something that you need to go talk to somebody, get on it. But I like to look at it like training. What do I have to do to keep myself at a better mental place? Whether that's meditation, that's reading, that's continuously talking to somebody, praying. This guy likes to jump in cold water.
Yeah, no, dude, I saw that. I was like, I like getting it. My temperature's around 39. That's my 39 degrees is like, I'm like, oh, okay, it's bad.
That's bad.
I love it. It just for me, it's a mental clarity and it controls my breathing. So like, and that's the worst part of my day, to be honest with you. Like that 3 minutes that I'm in that dumbass thing. But yeah, it helps me out for whatever reason. It helps me out. But I mean, I went through some stuff, and I have a buddy. I always talk about him, and he at the time my agency wasn't like forward thinking a lot, and I went and I said, hey man, this is really kind of messing with me. And basically the response is like, kind of like tough it up. So I was like, well, that didn't really work for me. That's not the route that I was going. So I was like, hey bro, like, I know you can't see me because of a conflict of interest. I was like, but will you just let me talk to you? And if you think that I need to go see someone else, I have enough respect for you that says, like, hey, I think you need to go talk to him. And all I had to do was get it out of my mind, and it worked for me. Like, just let me talk about it. And then the first time I talked about everything that I was going through, like now it's not a big deal to me. Like, but the more I kept it in my brain, the more I just kept thinking about it.
She had me do what was called EMDR therapy, eye movement, some reticle disassociation. Essentially, it's like a tapping. You close your eye and get in this tapping thing. And essentially what it does is she's able to go back and find like incidents that are considered trauma. And how she explained it was, you have the connections, like all of your mental connections to that associated with trauma. That's why it hurts when you think about it, because it hurts. And essentially what this does is it goes in and reprograms it to be a memory and not trauma. And now, like, as we're speaking, I can go back and think about those things, and it is as much of a memory as getting off that airplane was today. And so I'm able to move past it, and it doesn't, and what it did is it doesn't define me anymore. Because there's a lot of anger I had. And we'll talk about my experiences, like my career.
Yeah, I just wanted
But it's like, before I talk about that, I have to talk about, like, because I don't look at it as like, hey, I'm awesome. I look at it as, man, I was very privileged to be a 4-year cop and be asked to be part of a task force with people that have been cops for 20 years, 30 years, and I'm asking to be part of them. And I'm like, how in the world did I get here? And then I spent the rest of my time learning and exposing me to things that I'm like, this is amazing. This is now this is what this should be about. And it got to the point where I'm like, this is the freedom. Like I told you, I had the greatest job in all of law enforcement in the United States, in my opinion. And so, but first and foremost is I had a lot of anger about all that, because what I'm about to talk about was ripped away from me overnight. And it took a lot for me to be like, how am I going to deal with this? Because I didn't have a final send off. I didn't have a final 1042 or anything like that. It was literally like, thanks, no thanks. Bye. Called our FOP attorney, and he's like, yeah, you have a good case you have a good case, but you're not a protected class. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not a protected class? There's nothing you can do because you're not a protected class. So I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, that's where you're at.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay. So it took me a long time to figure out, how do I grasp that? Like, okay, I was given everything for this. And you talked about this recently, about you and I think it was you and Tyler was talking about like putting the identity in the thing of like, you shouldn't be putting your identity into this job, especially this job. You shouldn't be putting your identity. You can put a lot into it, but your identity is as Kenny, as Mike, and then they get to benefit from what you bring. And when I understood that they got to benefit, I'm now realizing, okay, there's a lot of good that came from that.
Gentlemen, whether you are leading the charge at work or just in line at happy hour, you need gear that can keep up. From our rugged beard and oil balm that tame the wildest whiskers to our classic pomade that locks in that clean, commanding look, Semper Suave has your 6. No flakes, no fuss, all day, and battlefield level confidence. So square that beard line up, even though people in counterculture think that I don't have a beard. Donut shop. Semper Suave has got your 6. Make you look slick and keep you sharp for critical missions or to serve and protect. Check out Semper Suave. We're thrilled to have them as a sponsor. Let us know what you think.
So my career was, I got out of the academy, and like 6 months into my first agency, they were like, "Hey, SWAT is opening up for like the interviews and stuff." I had no plan to do it, and I was told, "Hey, try it. Just get some experience." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Out of 10 people, 10 or 12 people, I tested number one, which means by default, by policy, I'm on. The team leader called me. He's like, "Do you really want to do this?" And I said, "Absolutely not. But what do you think?" And he was like, "I think you should do it, but it'll be an uphill battle." I should not have done it. But at the same time, because I mean, naturally, 6 months on to Blue Flame, it just wasn't good. The chemistry of that team wasn't good. And so but at the same time, I'm not complaining. Lateral to the sheriff's office and had a great time. Like I was like, okay, I'm home. I'm home in the sheriff's office, the deputy. I love being a deputy. I love the aspect. I love everything about being a deputy. A year into that, I was trying to, so I had connections with the marshals and some other people, and I was trying to bring our team, our SWAT team on to like help them out on different things. And in turn, they came and said, they went to the sheriff, the marshal, the actual gold bed marshal came to the sheriff and said, "Hey, can we have one person for this opening that we've created? And hey, here's our name for it." And the sheriff said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I got selected to go. To that. So I was assigned to the marshals full time, which was its own task force, but then also, so it's full time there. It wasn't part time. It was a full time, full fledged marshal. And then we were also attached to the FBI career criminal, which is essentially kind of like we get to do anything we wanted. So we cherry picked anything from human trafficking to counterterrorism to big armed robbery stuff. Like essentially, the thing was if they're a career criminal, if they're going to go away for the rest of their life, that's who we're going after. And my job with them was essentially, okay, go find this guy because we can't find him. And I found that I became very good at finding kind of like the unfindable.
It's just tracking them
It
down
just,
through
it was
different
just
ways
a
and stuff.
natural thing I had. And then I started realizing, and the interdiction side of this is I started realizing like, okay, at that time we weren't getting high risk search warrants because of all the politics and stuff. They weren't doing high risk search warrants for homes. And so I said, okay, well, Constitution's a little bit more lax than vehicles. Why don't we start going after vehicle stuff? And marshals are really big on vehicle stuff. So we started getting more and more cases, and more like people really liked what we were doing and bringing them because our evidence was really good. We were getting them. We were getting more and more follow on. So we'd get information, get stuff out of the car, and then we were having people at the house. And so you could backtrack and go, "Hey, we've had surveillance at the house since they left. So we have the integrity for everything. Can we now?" Yep. "Oh, it's no longer a high risk search warrant. Perfect. Here's a search warrant." And now the same team, enforcement team, can now go and do a. So now everybody's happy. You have the investigators that are happy because they're getting really good evidence. The SWAT team or enforcement teams are happy because they get to go chalk up and do everything they knew inside the house. And at the end of the day, it's just us saying, "Cool, mission accomplished. Everybody's happy. We're ready to rock and roll." And a lot of what I found of what became very effective was essentially, okay, we're doing this and we don't have a whole lot of resources because there's only a few of us, but everybody loved to come. When we like waved the flag of help, everybody came because they want to come help. You know, we're the highest task force in the area. There's nobody bigger than us. So it was like, "Oh, absolutely, let's go help." The problem is that then you have a whole bunch of pennies and not a lot of quarters. I like force multipliers. So what I would do is say, okay, if you're the team leader for the SWAT team, I'd be like, "Hey, this is what I've got. I don't know when it's going to pop off, but this is where we're going. Here's your briefing packet." So you are already kind of spun up a little bit. So when I wave that flag, you're already in the know of what you're coming into and you're already briefed a little bit. And so it started being really effective. And what I learned was the ability to pass information was almost um, priceless because as shit was going sideways with us, as you were coming, you were able to then catch up to what we were doing since you were already in the know. And it became really annoying to a lot of people because what happened this time, yeah, something happened this time, but what happened the last 3 times? Nothing. But then they learn when something does pop off, it's awesome. They never balked at it anytime I called. And that was something I did. It didn't something that like everybody did, but it became really effective. And I took that lesson of like, okay, if I could prep people, and it might be annoying because cops are really freaking egotistical, like, "Oh man, nothing happened." And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? If something did happen, we were already ready for it. Because something I learned is what are we really good at? Responding to a problem. What are we not good at? Catching up to that problem because we will compound the problems to get to there of too much talking on the radio, inefficiency of where we're going to be or what we're supposed to do. And so it's like everybody runs to the problem, but it's not a very efficient way of managing it when we get there. It's what and that's just an RAO. And that's nothing dig on us as cops. It's just, we're not good. We're really good at running to it. But when it comes to afterwards, it's like, okay, now what? Now what? Career again.
So you spent like, what, 6 years doing that?
Something like that.
You said it came to an end in an unhappy way.
I'll keep it this way because
You can keep it vague. I'm just
I'll keep it vague. All the politics, everything that was coming in. We had an incident with a shooting, and they tried to come after and put it all on me, and they were just avoiding a lawsuit, which is, you know what, it's fine. It is what it is. And so there's no criminal charges. There's nothing like that. It was just, hey, here's a scapegoat, here's a patsy, and we'll put it on that. And I was like, okay. When they told me, they brought me in, they said, okay, I didn't get any representation. I didn't get any testimony. The highway patrol cleared us, said this is 100% a good shoot, 100% a justified shoot. I wasn't brought in for anything that I was supposed to. Essentially, it's like an investigation happened, resolution happened, and was never given anything, a lot of like, hey, what's my side of the story or anything like that. And when I asked about that, they said, well, look, just go meet with the sheriff and kiss the ring and just say you're sorry. I'm like, kiss the ring? What does that mean? Just, kiss the ring. And I'm like, I don't do that for anybody. I don't do that for anybody. And I resigned. I said, if that's what my choices are, I resign. So anyway, that's essentially what happened.
So they had it all packaged up, ready to go. We're done.
I've never heard of something called a pre-termination interview. And I was like, what is a pre-termination interview? And it's like, well, pretty much just go in and beg for your job, kiss the ring. And if the sheriff wants, he'll let you keep your job. And I'm like, I've done, like, the interesting part is, and this is, I'll just say this a little bit, is I went and got my jacket, like my file. There's no accommodations that I had gotten through the entire time. And the irony is, right before this incident happened, we foiled a active shooter attack. There's nothing anybody in this world could convince me that we did not stop it. Nobody's asking for any glorification. Nobody's asking for any, like, hey, awesome. But I know 100% we did, because I was the case agent on this for the months that leading up to it. So I know everything front and back. The dude was loading up his car with items to go and commit some sort of mass attack. Okay. And we stopped him. When I speared him, he was a big guy and he was wearing gym shorts and a t-shirt. When I speared him, 2 guns fell out of his waistband. I had no idea. I mean, like, Jim's, and like, we were very, like, his mental state, all that we all knew. The FBI was on board. So the irony is that prior to this, when they say that I'm a liability, I was in a room at the JTTF with the ASAC, with FBI bomb squad, with my supervisors, all of us. And they're like, we have no idea what to do because we don't have enough for hard paper yet to arrest this guy. We don't. I know it sounds crazy, but this is very much like how like when something happens and they say, well, the FBI was on the FBI's radar, like that's the stage we were at. And we're like, right, how are we going to do this? So a detective and I had an idea of something that we call a stop order, which is something in Missouri. A stop order is essentially, it's not an arrest warrant, but I want to talk to you about a crime without charging it. And it came from a prosecutor saying, well, we can't charge them with murder, even though they're on surveillance and all of this. We can't charge them with murder because you haven't talked to him yet. So they issued this whole thing called a stop order. It has to be outside of a house. And essentially you can't do it limits your ability for enforcement, if that makes sense. So
they just said, I'm not talking to you?
No, if you catch him, you can bring him in. It's basically like a legal detainment.
Got you.
Okay. But your use of force has to be very limited. Does that make sense? Because it's not hard paper for an arrest warrant. They're not being charged. This is why we always have to think it's a constitutional right. Like, we are covered that this is constitutional with what we're doing. We'll let the longevity of it. Is this constitutionally allowed or not? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is what our idea is, like, hey, why don't we just sit on him right now? We'll just dedicate him. We're going to get him outside of his house and we'll just get him on a stop order. They had no idea that was even possible because they don't deal with that at the federal level. So because of that, when he came out of the house, we got him. Very much they were like, hey, you guys just avoided and saved lives, right? I'm only telling you this because now a week later, ish, stuff happened with the agency where they're saying like me and a bunch of us were liabilities. Like, it's just, when I say, like, when I go around and I travel and I talk to all these cops about how they're treated by admin, I'm like, I get it. Don't let them define who you are.
Yeah.
Because they need you, let you define the job and keep your head up in how you're going to conduct yourself, because you're bigger than what these people try to do.
What did you do outside of work? Like, I know that you worked your butt off as a cop, but like anything outside of work that
My family was everything.
Yeah.
My family is legitimately anything and everything I did, because church and my family.
do you think that helped you when you were going through it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I'm the guy that, like, I'll go train on my own, but I don't go, like, I never did anything like super crazy or anything like that. I'd go in my days off. I tried to be with my kids, my wife. I tried to, we volunteer. We're very active in our church. And so that just took up all my time. I'm a terrible friend, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm with you, I'm the best dude you'll ever have. I will give you everything I have. But it's hard for me to be a dedicated, just because, man, I just am spacey like that. And I like my inner peace, and I don't let a lot of people inside of it. And so I just like being with my family.
It's awesome.
I love I love to fish. Oh, I love to fish. And I love baseball. So those are some of my hobbies: fishing and baseball.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Fishing and baseball. So yeah, dude, but it is a fun career. It is a fun career. But you know what's, I've been waiting to tell you this, and I needed to tell you. You are the first person that I saw, the first avenue that I saw of, outside of like the tactical world, of gaining knowledge outside of, for police work, outside of like the tactical world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were the first person I remember seeing.
That's awesome.
I don't even remember when. I just remember being like, there has to be something more outside of the tactical world for how to do better police work. And I was on the federal task force, so I didn't have the interdiction side of it, but I was like, hey, look, here's this guy. And I didn't know that you were attached to street cop or anything. I just remember seeing a lot of, like, hearing about it and being like, oh, okay, see, look, there is stuff out there where we can get better knowledge of how to do better investigative work. Because I mean, we got access to some really cool stuff. So anyway, I didn't say even that I remember seeing that, and like, hey, guys, go check this out. Go check this out. Because they all, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I feel like with social media, cops are always behind the time anyway. So like putting stuff out there that's, legal and understanding, instead of someone just saying, "No, this is why we do it, just because this is the way we've always done it." And now if you have someone out there that's explaining the reason that you can do things, I don't know. I think it gives you more confidence on the job, more knowledge, and cops won't make as many mistakes, I guess, in that realm.
It provides the why.
Yeah.
It provides the why, other than just, as I told you so. We're really good at, like, do this because I told you so. I came in the culture of, like, guard this corner of this house because I told you so. If you move from that, mission over. And you're like, and I remember being like, what if I see him running and there's nobody there? Do I stay here? Do I go? Like, you stay. And I'm like, okay, I'm staying here. I'm staying here. Okay. But it makes no sense. But here's the thing, is that now I can understand. I understand why now. It's like, no, look, if we'll live to fight another day, but just make sure people know. But the reason why I want you here is because you're protecting everything else.
Yep.
That's a way of explaining the why. I was not told that. It was, you stay here because we said so. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with it.
That's how it always goes. It's like, you get it. Like, there's a reason. And when you find out that way, you're like, okay, that makes sense.
It makes sense.
But in my head, I'm like, why the are you telling me that I'm just going to stick here when there's so much else going on? Like, I want to react and do what I find comes natural to me. But if you would have just told me in the first place, I'd be like, all right, I get it.
That makes sense. And I don't think that they understood, because a lot of and I'm not saying all, a lot of supervisors are like, man, I guess I'm at that thing now too. I want to say like 10 plus years, they came from a culture where it was like, you had to, like, if a cop told you to do something,
yeah,
you did it. Right. And now we call that contempt of cop. It's like, if you're not legally telling something to do something and they tell you to F off, you can't really do anything, because you made a bluff of saying, do this. And they're saying, I don't have to do that. And you're mad because they are right.
Yep.
They don't understand that. And so they're wanting to do the same. That's how they lead as well. Of like, you're going to do this because I say so. And they're like, here's the thing, is you're asking me to do something very dangerous. I will do it. You understand? Like, you're asking me to do this. I will do this. Not only that, I'll lead others to do this. I got to know what we are justifying this for. Because priority of life, this is showing that you're kind of playing with the priorities of life, of who's of who's priority here. And I'm feeling like you're putting other people above us that shouldn't be there. I'm just asking why, because I said so. Roger that. Roger that. Okay. All right. Understood. And then I turned to my guy and be like, okay, guys, this is how we have to protect ourselves. And so, anyway, but yeah, it's essentially just how they've always done it that way, and they want to leave that way. And it's not effective, which shows, because good leaders, especially, man, I meet some good dudes now. We hearken a lot of the bad, but man, the good don't get praised enough. There are some amazing people in leadership right now, and they usually are the opposite of that, of like, hey, yeah, I'm 2 ranks above you, but you're not ever going to feel like that. I'm speaking metaphorically, right? Like,
Right.
I'm 2 ranks above you. You're never going to feel like that, because I'm not going to treat you like a piece of shit, but I'm going to tell you why. And you can't question me, because I know I'm justified in this. And you're like, yeah, I can't say nothing to that. It's like, because I'm showing my experience with you. And man, I love those guys. Those guys are amazing. Miami has, I just met a bunch of those guys down in Miami. They were just awesome. Fantastic.
I also feel that like the leadership that we had, that's also how they learned. You know what I'm saying? So it's been like a generational thing. So to break something that's generationally happening within a profession is hard as fuck to actually accomplish. But yeah, it's good to see that it's good. Yeah, I agree. There's many good leaders out there. There's the bad ones, and
I wish I could have held out to be one of those, but it's just the cards where they were. It wasn't going to be able to. But man, my hat's off. When I meet those guys. I make sure I go up and be like, I really appreciate what you've got and who you are, and because they probably don't hear it, or they're just like, okay, who are you? I'm a nobody. No, reality, I'm a nobody, but you need to know that I noticed this. And
I think those open-minded individuals are still appreciative of that, though. You know.
Yeah.
And that's nothing better than when I'm teaching classes at an agency or whatever, and you go up and somebody introduces himself and like, I'm the commander, I'm the chief or whatever, and they're sitting in on a class. I'm like, well, okay, what's going on? He's like, well, my guys wanted to come here. I want to see what's going on. And now I like what I see, and they go into it. And I'm like, yeah, who would sit on that? You know, I never saw that. But these guys are that kind of leader that they're like, well, this is where we're going. We want to do this. So I want to know what my guys are doing, and I'm here with them. And I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool.
It's like, yeah, absolutely.
Get it.
And you know, one of the best leaders I ever had, he wasn't even like a tactical minded person. He was a tech person. And he was one of the best tactical minded people I know, because he wasn't trying to be anything. Because the tactic side of it is just it's basically dissecting problem solving. That's all you're doing. He was really good at that. And so he just was able to transcribe that over, let us be who we needed. Like the essence of when it came to like the highest, I mean, we're going after top 10 FBI wanted dudes, where we're listening to them say, I will kill cops, blah, blah, blah. And 5 minutes later, we're going at, like, we're in Fort, right? That level. This is the guy I am going to I will unleash you. I've prepared you to do everything, prepared you with everything. Go do your thing. And I'll tell you this, the man was one of the best people I have ever known. And because he didn't try to pretend anything, he was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. And so it just shows his leadership capability. But he was not something, and he was the nerdiest, weirdest ever. And if anybody back home is watching it, they'll know this laugh. Like, that's his laugh, right? Like, but at the end of the day, the man commanded respect from every single one of us, because we knew that he had our back, but he also knew that he'd done his job up to that point, and was just like, okay, once I unleash the dogs of war, you guys will go handle the best way that we knew. And we did it. And because of that, he then opened up doors for all of us to have more operations. Like the DOJ was sending operations to us because of the numbers we were putting up in arrests and all of this stuff. And so he was just an amazing, amazing leader. Amazing leader. So, all right, what's your question?
Well, our question is, we teach for Justice Academy. So what's your definition of justice?
All right, man, that's going to be a whole thing. I'll give it a 2-second version. Justice is recompense for what is right on both sides.
I like it. That's short. Yeah, perfect.
Because everybody wants the most amount of justice, but there's 2 sides to everything.
I like it.
In law enforcement, there's my side, their side, and what we have to start. His side, her side, or whoever's, and then there's where we are at in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'll pull both ways, but not everybody will get equal justice. But at the same time, that's why I love Lady Justice is blind.
Yep.
It is allocated to justify both sides equally.
Yep.
As much as we could.
I like it, man.
That's good.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys don't have anything on social media or anything with Apollo, do you?
No, in fact, here's the if it, what I was telling you, like we are getting ready to hit the market, and if anybody wants any information, just email me at chance@teamapollo.com.
Cool.
And because right now we do not have social media, we will not for a long time, because it's like our Lamborghini approach. Like our customers aren't necessarily on social media, and we kind of like the word of mouth, because when they see the system, it's kind of like oh shit, this is awesome. And we kind of like that. So it's kind of become like our little business mantra
Like it.
of when we come and show people, are like, holy shit, this is awesome. So anybody wants information, do a virtual demo or something like that. Absolutely. And who knows, man, I've got other plans as well with stuff, but we'll go from there when that time comes.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you. I don't want you to miss your flight. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming up here.
Later, man.